Hello all and welcome back. In this video we are going to cover S3 replication covering same region and cross-region replication followed by a quick demo. S3 replication enables automatic asynchronous copying of objects across S3 buckets in the same or different AWS regions and same or different AWS accounts. S3 currently supports both same region and cross-region replication. S3 cross-region replication helps copy objects across S3 buckets in different AWS regions, while S3 same region replication helps to copy objects across S3 buckets in the same AWS region. S3 can replicate either all or a subset of objects with specific key name prefixes. S3 encrypts all data in transit across AWS regions using SSL. Object replicas in the destination bucket are the exact replicas of the objects in the source bucket with the same key names and the same metadata. Objects may be replicated to a single destination bucket or even multiple destination buckets. S3 replication can serve for multiple use cases and can be used to replicate objects while retaining metadata, replicate objects into different storage classes or with different encryption, maintain object copies under different ownership, keeping objects stored over multiple AWS regions, and replicate objects within 15 minutes. Cross-region replication can help serve compliance requirements to have the data backed up across AWS regions, minimize latency to allow users across geography to access objects, operational reasons to have compute clusters in two different regions analyze the same set of objects. Same region replication can be used for following scenarios, either to aggregate logs into a single bucket, configure live replication between production and test accounts, or abide by data compliance laws to store multiple copies. S3 replication has some prerequisites. Source and destination buckets must be versioning enabled. S3 must have permissions to replicate objects from that source bucket to the destination bucket on your behalf. Also, the destination buckets cannot be configured as requester pays bucket. There are certain constraints into what is replicated and not replicated. Only new objects created after you have added a replication configuration are replicated. S3 does not retroactively replicate objects that existed before you added the replication configuration. S3 now supports objects encrypted using customer-provided keys, objects encrypted at rest using S3 Managed Key or KMS. Also, S3 replicates only objects in the source bucket for which the bucket owner has permissions to read objects and read ACLs. Only customer actions are replicated and actions performed by lifecycle configurations are not replicated. Replication chaining is also not allowed. S3 does not replicate delete marker by default. However, you can add delete marker replication to non-tagged base rules to override it. S3 does not replicate deletion by object version ID. This protects data from malicious deletions as well. In this demo, we are going to be replicating S3 contents across two other buckets, one in the same AWS region, another in another AWS region within the same AWS account. Let's get started. Let's navigate to the S3 console. We have a bucket Jayendra Patil -versioning created in the US East 1 region, and we are going to use the same as our source bucket. Versioning is enabled for this bucket, which is a prerequisite for S3 replication. There are no replication rules configured yet. Let's create our two S3 buckets. Let's create an S3 bucket first in the same US East 1 North Virginia region. Let's name our bucket Jayendra Patil-SRR, which stands for Same Region Replication. Let's keep defaults for the region, ACLs disabled, block all public access enabled. We need the versioning enabled for the S3 same region replication. Encryption using Amazon S3 managed keys is fine. Let's go ahead and create the bucket. And the bucket has been successfully created. Let's create our second S3 bucket in a different AWS region. Name our bucket Jayendra Patil-CRR, which is for cross-region replication. Let's change the region to US East Ohio, that is US East 2. Let's keep defaults with ACLs disabled and block all public access enabled. We need the versioning enabled for S3 cross-region replication. Encryption using Amazon S3 managed keys is fine. Let's go ahead and create the bucket. And the bucket has been successfully created. We'll now define S3 replication rules to replicate the objects from the S3 source bucket to the other S3 buckets. Let's navigate to our versioning bucket and to the Management tab. Navigate to the Replication Rules section. We do not have any replication rules defined. Let's click on the Create an Replication Rule. Let's define our first replication rule for the same region replication. Let's name the replication rule as Jayendra Patil-SSR-rule. Keep the status to be enabled. Priority helps resolve conflicts that occur when an object is eligible for replication under multiple rules to the same destination. It can be used to configure replication based on the criticality. The source bucket is already selected. Remember, S3 can replicate either all or a subset of objects with specific key name prefixes, object tags, or a combination of both. We will leave it blank for now, which would replicate all the newly added objects from the source bucket. However, remember, only new objects created after you have added the replication rule are replicated. S3 does not retroactively replicate objects that existed before you added the replication configuration. You can enable a one-time batch operations job for this replication to replicate objects that already exist in the bucket and to synchronize the source and destination bucket. Let's configure the destination. We'll choose a bucket in the same account. Let's browse S3 and select the SRR bucket. The destination region is reflected. For S3 replication, the S3 must have permissions to replicate objects from the source bucket to the destination bucket on your behalf. Let's create a new role. The console would create a role for us with appropriate permissions. We'll explore the role once created. Encryption. You can replicate objects created with AWS Key Management Service or KMS. We will leave it to default as our S3 objects are encrypted using the default S3 encryption and not KMS. S3 replication also allows you to replicate objects into different storage classes. It gives you an option for destination storage class, and you can select from an existing list of storage class available. For now, let's keep it to standard storage class. You can also configure additional replication configuration. The RTC or replication time control replicates 99.99% of new objects within 15 minutes. and also includes a replication matrix. Replication matrix helps monitor the total number and the size of objects that are pending replication and the maximum replication time to the destination region. Delete marker replication, as mentioned, is optional, and as the buckets are versioned, delete markers would be created if the latest current object is deleted. By enabling this, delete markers created by S3 delete operations will be replicated as well. However, remember, delete markers created by lifecycle rules are not replicated, and replica modification sync helps replicate metadata changes made to replicas in this bucket to the destination bucket. We will keep all these disabled for now, and let's go ahead and save the changes. Remember, replication does not work retroactively. The console gives you an option to replicate existing objects through a one-time S3 batch operation job. We do not need this for now. Let's cancel and go ahead. And our first S3 replication rule is created. Let's now create the replication rule for cross-region replication quickly. Navigate back to the replication rules section. Create on the create an app replication rule. We'll name the replication as the CRR rule. Keep the status to be enabled. Priority is set to 1 as compared to 0 for our earlier rule. The source bucket is selected, and we will replicate for all the objects in the bucket. We'll choose a bucket in this account. Let's browse S3 and select the CRR bucket. The destination region is reflected. Let's create a new role, and the console would help create a role with appropriate permissions. Let's keep all the other configurations as default with encryption, storage class, and additional replication options. Let's go ahead and save the changes. Now we have two replication rules created, one for the same region replication and the other for cross-region replication. Let's quickly check the IAM role created as well. Let's navigate to the IAM console and check on the roles. We have the CRR role created. This role was created for the first replication rule with the access to the source and the destination bucket. And it created a second role as well for the second CRR replication rule. And it includes all the three buckets this time, the source bucket and the two destination bucket. Let's navigate to the S3 bucket and add some objects to the source bucket and check the replication. Let's upload couple of objects to the S3 bucket. Let's navigate to the destination buckets to check if the objects were replicated. And yep, the same region replication bucket has the objects now. And yes, the cross-region replication bucket also has the objects now. So we have successfully replicated the S3 bucket to the same region as well as cross-region destination buckets. So that's it for the S3 replication demo. I hope you liked the demo. Thank you all.
Alright, that was it. Thank you for watching. You can check out my website and connect me on LinkedIn and Twitter. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. For any feedback, please leave a comment down below. To see more videos like this in the future, hit the subscribe button. Thank you.